Good evening, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this Tuesday morning. And with the midterms on the horizon, many in Congress in the Democrat side is seeing the writing on the wall. They're seeing their reign of terror come to an end. They're making preparations. They're making backroom deals. They're doing whatever they can to preserve themselves after the retaking of Congress by the Republicans. Well, one notable figure is looking to maybe even leave the country. That's right, looking for an ambassadorship to Europe. Maybe she wants to go to Ukraine. Maybe she can help out her cross-dressing buddy. There's the Linsky continued to help funnel that money back into the coffers of the DNC. We'll see. But we have an article here coming from To the Gateway Pundit talking about Nancy Pelosi and her bid to leave the United States as an ambassador. So let's get to take a look what we have here coming. It says Nancy Pelosi already planning for the GOP retaking the House wants to become an ambassador to Europe. And it is not Ukraine. It would have been fitting for her to go Ukraine. Maybe it was too on the nose for her to go there. Right. Nancy Pelosi is already thinking of what happens when Democrats lose the House. According to a new report, she wants to be the ambassador to Italy. The report also states that this is one of the biggest reasons Joe Biden has not filed the position yet or filled the position yet. The U.S. ambassador residence in Italy has a pool, private guards, and a wine cellar. Yeah, she would love that. Maybe some exporting of the maybe said importing of the Russian vodka would top it all off for her. Maybe as make it solid deal. Sources at Fox Business tell that Pelosi wants President Biden to nominate her to become the next U.S. ambassador to Italy if the GOP takes the House majority in the midterm elections. Biden is holding the spot for the speaker, sources say, which is the only reason he has yet to fill the position since taking office. Speculation earlier this year that a Pelosi ally and former Wall Street executive wanted the job has shifted with the increasing likelihood that the GOP takes the majority. There was no clarity yet on how the new Senate will react to a Pelosi nomination. But there was a mixed reaction to her in the role from sources this week. Pelosi traveled to Italy for a vacation with her extended family back in July. Pelosi brought her and her extended family to a lavish Italian home privately paid for taxpayers, by the way. And Ramona servers are split over whether there's proof of her warming them up the Villa Tavern or it's just an indie indication that America's most powerful Italian American can get a dose of blood, Duce Vita, through short trips instead. So we'll see what happens here. But even Nancy Pelosi notes a red wave is coming as a great way for her to try to escape the country, maybe weather all of the investigations that will be leveled. Definitely still want her on record as far as what she knew back in January 6. Her plotting with General Milley and others in the intelligence ACC in order to try to wrestle the nuclear codes away from President Trump. There's a lot that she needs to answer for the 14,000 hours of videotape that she refuses to allow to be released, her efforts into denying the National Guard to have be put in place before the January 6 protest. So there's a lot of stuff that Nancy Pelosi has to answer for, and if she thinks she's going to be able to get away such as easy as flying away to Italy, well, we'll see what the new Congress thinks about that. And then, so maybe a week or so ago, we were covering a topic involving an FBI agent who was reportedly led out of the front door of the FBI headquarters, a man named Timothy Tebow. And the assumption in the reporting at the time was that he was a corrupt FBI official hell-bent on getting Trump, an anti-Trump FBI agent who was being escorted out of the office, because clearly somebody with a political bias has no place in law enforcement, let alone the FBI. And maybe let me rephrase that, because of course, we all have political biases, but people who let their political biases interfere with their work have no place in law enforcement, and certainly not the FBI. And of course, in the video that I recorded back then, we covered a little snippet of the report basically giving Mr. Tebow the benefit of the doubt, and I genuinely laughed while reading the supposed defense because, of course, based on even the limited information that we had at the time, I just wasn't buying it. Well, lo and behold, maybe a week later, however many days it's been, a massive bombshell allegation targeting Timothy Tebow blows the whole lid on the FBI as BS justification and public statement. As it turns out, Timothy Tebow is involved in a massive corruption conspiracy to, of course you probably guessed it, protect the Bidens. Let me show you guys what's going on here. This right here, folks, is why you could just never take the FBI at their own word. Of course, I've got some stuff to show you guys. So let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so Mr. Timothy Tebow, of course we covered all the initial reporting at the time. The only information that we didn't cover in the previous video is Timothy Tebow's official media statement written by his lawyers. We have a right here on Twitter from, of course, none other than Catherine Herridge media statement on behalf of Timothy our Tebow. For immediate release, Timothy Archibald has retained the pro bono services of Morrison & Foerster LLP. The following statement may be used in whole or part plus attributed to Mr. Dubow's counsel at Morrison & Foerster LLP on August 20. Mr. Chabot pronounced Tebow voluntarily retired from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mr. Tebow was not fired, not forced to retire, and not asked to retire on his last day as part of his processing. Mr. Chabot turned his security badge and walked with two longtime special agents through the field office to finish processing his paperwork. He walked out of the building by himself. Claims to the contrary are false. Mr. Chabot was eligible for retirement and informed his supervisors about a month ago that he intended to retire following more than 30 years of devoting himself to the protection of the American people and to upholding the Constitution of the United States in a nonpartisan fashion. This included nearly 2 decades of leading and supervising investigations into public corruption by members of both political parties, such as investigations that led to the convictions of Congressman William Jefferson and Jesse Jackson, Jr. During his tenure at the FBI, Mr. Tebow received more than a dozen awards, including the Attorney General's Award for Distinguished Service, one of the department's highest honors. There have been allegations that Mr. Dubow's social media posts potentially violated the Hatch Act, and those allegations are being investigated by the Office of Special Counsel. Mr. Devoe is cooperating with that investigation, urges the office to complete its review, and expects to be fully exonerated. There have also been allegations that Mr. Devoe took certain actions and investigations for political partisan reasons. Mr. Devoe welcomes any investigation of these false allegations regardless of his retirement. He firmly believes that any investigation will conclude that his supervision, leadership, and decision-making were not impacted by political bias or partisanship of any kind. He is confident that all of his decisions are consistent with the FBI. His highest standards of ethics and integrity further set the record straight. Mr. Jumbo was not involved in the search at Mar-a-Lago, either in its planning or execution. Mr. Chabot did not supervise the investigation of Hunter Biden, which is confirmed by the FBI director on August 4, 2022, as being handled by the Baltimore field office. In particular, Mr. Tebow was not involved in any decisions related to any laptop that may be an issue in that investigation, and he did not seek to close the investigation. So that is what Mr. Devoe and his legal counsel are saying. Then we get this bombshell report: FBI agent Timothy Tebow hit intel from whistleblower on Hunter and quote the big guy Joe Biden. Timothy Tebow, the FBI agents alleged to have interfered with an investigation into Hunter Biden, was assigned by the Washington field office as a point man to manage whistleblower Tony Bob Alinsky, the first son's former business partner, before the 2020 election. But he suppressed his damning revelations. Sources say Bob Alinsky spent over 5 hours secretly being interviewed by the FBI on October 23, 2020. About his inside knowledge of then-presidential candidate Joe Biden's involvement in his son's business deals with China. The previous day he had revealed in a press conference that Joe Biden was quote the big guy due to get 10% cut of a lucrative joint venture with the Chinese energy firm CEFC. According to an email found on Hunter's abandoned laptop, Obolensky gave the FBI contents of 3 cell phones containing encrypted messages between Hunter Biden and his business partners, along with emails and financial documents detailing the Biden family's corrupt influence peddling operation in foreign countries during Joe's vice presidency. But his evidence appears to have fallen in the same black hole at the FBI as the Hunter laptop, never to be seen again. Bob Alinsky's FBI interview came the week after the Post published material for the laptop, including the big guy message and an email from a Ukrainian energy company executive thanking Hunter for organizing a 2015 meeting in Washington with then-that VP Biden. On the day Bob Alinsky went to the FBI's Washington field office 11 days before the 2020 presidential election, he was told not to walk in the front door but to drive into an underground parking garage at the back of a nondescript 8-story building in northwest D.C., 1 mile from the FBI headquarters. He was met by James Dawson, then special agent and in charge of the Criminal and Cyber Division, and FBI Supervisory Special Agent Julio Larceny, they turned him over to two younger agents, William Novak and Garrett Churchill, who conducted the videotaped interview and provided a receipt for Bobble and Ski's digital data. He told them about the work Hunter and his uncle Jim Biden partners James Geller and Rob Walker did during Joe Biden's vice presidency in 2015 and 2016. Using the Biden name to help CFC expanded to Oman, Romania, Georgia, Kazakhstan and beyond. He told them about Hunter's lucrative personal relationship with CFC chairman Yi Jong-min. At the time, the company was brokering China's $9 billion acquisition of the Russian state oil giant Rosneft. Ye Jong-min was arrested in China in 2018. After the deal fell apart, Bob Alinsky and his lawyers were given Tebow's cell phone number and told that he would be the "point man" at the FBI thereafter. That night, Bob Minsky's lawyer phoned Tebow, who said that he was soon advise on next steps and whether Bob Alinsky should do a follow-up interview, but neither Bubbleinsky nor his lawyer was contacted ever again. Nor was Bubbleinsky brought before a Delaware grand jury investigating Hunter. Timothy Tebow's legal team just recently released a message that Timothy Tebow had nothing to do with the Hunter Biden investigation or anything related to the laptop. Clearly that is a lie. Tony, Bob Alinsky is naming Timothy Tebow himself as being the man who essentially dropped the case and didn't even take it to a grand jury. And this was roughly 2 weeks before Election Day. Mr. Timothy Tebow, Mr. Total Nonpartisan FBI hack, had potentially incriminating evidence involving Joe Biden and then presidential candidates days before the presidential election. And it seems as though he was not only the point man, but he was the point man to shove the whole thing under our rug and to pretend like it never happened, like it never existed. It shows just how deep the corruption is. And I mean, all the way to the media. And of course, it's been defending Mr. Timothy Tebow for the past week. We continue to see all the lies and all the deception, all the corruption. We continue to paint the picture of the deep state, and actually, speaking of that, we also have this bombshell top Justice Department lawyer was partners with Hunter Biden's attorney. You see all of these Washington connections, the Clintons to the Obamas, the Bidens, the Cheneys, the Bushes, and of course, it all makes so much sense. I think it extremely credible information involving Joe Biden, and they actively suppress the information, even go to Facebook directly to Mark Zuckerberg and tell him to censor the story, and all the meanwhile they continue to investigate and legally harass Donald Trump for the last 6 years. You're not crazy to be losing trust in the FBI. If you appreciate these updates, please smash that like button, put your comments down below.